I'll apologize in advance if this one goes a little long, but I have quite a bit to say. Maybe I don't have as much to say as I initially thought. Anyway, there's an old 90s TV show that holds a special place in my heart because I've been aware of it since I was in the 2nd grade. It's taught me a lot, it's entertained me, and it's been used as a resource in my classroom many times. And it's called the Magic School Bus. If you've never heard of the Magic School Bus, it's an animated television show based on a book series that follows the story of Ms. Valerie Frizzle and her class of students, who I believe to be in the 3rd grade. I could be totally wrong. I could be getting it mixed up with Recess, another anime TV show. But regardless, these are elementary school-aged kids, and their teacher takes them on a field trip every day to learn different concepts of science, from the circulatory system to the food chain to, anything you can imagine. And she does so in a, you guessed it, magic school bus that transforms to various animals and shapes and sizes, and is able to enhance the experience of these field trips. Recently, that show was over many years ago. It was put to an end, but recently they've come back with a Netflix original series that is called The Magic School Bus Rides Again. And it's unclear how much time has passed between the end of the original series and this new one, the beginning of this new one. But one thing is very clear. It is not the same Miss Frizzle, and they blatantly come right out and say that. The original Miss Valerie Frizzle is now a professor. I've only watched one episode, but I have some very strong opinions on this show already. She's now a professor, but she never actually goes to class. She now rides a magic motorcycle and has handed over the bus to her younger sister, Fiona Felicity Frizzle. So far, nothing wrong. Miss Frizzle has gotten more educated. She's got a PhD. She's a professor now. Her younger sister is a teacher. She gets her old classroom. It's not too far-fetched. Here is where it starts to go wrong. First of all, Kate McKinnon is Miss Fiona Frizzle. From now on, I'll refer to them as Miss Frizzle and Professor Frizzle. So that we can just say Valerie and Fiona. Kate McKinnon plays Fiona. I don't like Kate McKinnon at all. I don't think she's funny. I think she plays the same character every single time she does anything. If you aren't familiar with her, she's from SNL. She did Ghostbusters, the new one that nobody liked, and a couple other stupid comedy movies. And you can tell that she's trying really hard to be Fiona Frizzle. I think I'm going to say Miss Frizzle and Professor Frizzle. She's trying really hard to be Miss Frizzle, and it's just not working out. She's doing this weird thing with her voice, and you can tell she's trying really hard to be funny, and it's never funny when somebody does that. On the other hand, you have Lily Tomlin, who plays Professor Frizzle, the original Miss Frizzle, who is a genius. She is absolutely hilarious. She knows exactly what she's doing. She also, I believe, was on SNL. She now has a new Netflix series called Grace and Frankie that she's on with Jane Fonda. And it's hilarious. But they're two very different styles. And there are some catchphrases that Professor Frizzle has that Kate McKinnon's trying to do her own spin on. Even from the very beginning of the show, the theme song was changed. It's the same words, but it's sung to more of a hip-hoppy, uppity beat. Your target audience is not the young, hip-hoppy, uppity kids. It is the late mid to late 20s crowd. Don't change it if you want them to feel that 90s nostalgia. To make matters worse, it's composed and performed by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who, if you don't know, composed Hamilton on Broadway, and Moana, which was a highly successful Disney movie. I've got nothing against Lin-Manuel Miranda. I have everything against everybody, every company, and every production using him because of his name and who he is. You are perfectly allowed, to choose whoever you want to compose. But when you start choosing the same person that everybody else is choosing just because they had success before, I have an issue with that. 1, don't change the theme. 2, don't choose an overly popularized person to do it. Next, the credits. Apparently, they have people along the lines of Will Arnett and Mae Jemison, who I'm actually very impressed with, being a guest star. They have them as guest stars, but they're only in one episode each. Yet they're credited in every single episode. Mae Jemison, fine, American hero, first African-American woman in space. Fantastic, credit her all you want. Will Arnett? You want to make that guy's head bigger and credit him in every episode when he only appears once? Give me a break. Now let's dig into the real issues. The bus, the main character. It's a completely different bus. First of all, the animation style is nowhere near the same. It's like they have no budget for it or something. It's like little cardboard paper dolls, in my opinion, that were animated. It's almost reminiscent of South Park, to be honest. As far as the animation goes. But the bus looks completely different. It's boxier. It's not as round. I don't believe that that's a bus that can transform. You know, the other one looked fun. It had this rounded shape. It was bulbous. It was odd. You know, it was just a little bit askew. This one looks like a bus. Like a regular old bus. So that's annoying. Plus, they actually they do admit in the first episode that it's a different bus, or at least has been redone, because Arnold, one of the main kids, who, mind you, to all intents and purposes, looks like, or appears to be, in the same grade. How has it been, 20 years, and these kids are still in the same grade? Now, maybe, they don't ever actually reference what grade they're in, but they do repeatedly say in this episode that Arnold doesn't like things to change, and he refers to his desk and his seat and his spot all being the same. Because they're talking about ecosystems, and he's like, our ecosystem's never messed with, it's always the same. Well, you can tell upon the first scene in the classroom that it's not the same classroom. I watched an episode of the old series with my students yesterday about the food chain, and then I watched this one on Netflix last night about ecosystems, which are both things that we're talking about in class, but I'm really wrestling with whether or not I should show this one to my class, because it's terrible. But I don't want to deprive them of the knowledge, but I don't want them to experience a terrible show. So they've alluded to the fact that it's the same classroom, although you can tell very clearly that it's not. They have lab tables now instead of desks, stools instead of little chairs. The whole orientation is flipped. Like Frizzle's lecture stand, teaching table, whatever you want to call it, is on the opposite side of the room. Either that, or they're filming from a different side of the room. The camera location is on a different. I realize it's animated, but you still have to refer to it as a camera. Next, so yeah, they say that nothing has changed, but yet all the kids appear a little bit older. So let's talk about the kids then. Arnold is kind of the main character of the first episode, the only episode I've seen, and he's caught up in not liking change and not wanting things to be different. Which leads into the whole how invasive species can affect an ecosystem and blah, 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 blah. But he has a different outfit on. In the original series, he wore a yellow and white striped sweater and blue jeans and had frizzy hair and his glasses. Now he wears like a collared shirt under his... They're all dressed like hipsters. Or preppy kids. Like, I don't get it. He's blatantly saying he doesn't like change, and yet he's wearing a different outfit and doing his hair differently. I get that, 20 years has passed, but good golly, first of all, the kid should be an adult. But secondly, what world is going on there? He's changing his appearance when he's come right out and say that he doesn't... Sorry, there's like flashing lights and a lot of weird traffic right now. Saying that he doesn't want to change and doing it anyway. He's contradicting himself. The other kids, there's a new student. Her name's Jyoti. 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 And she's there to replace a former student, Phoebe, who, quote, went back to her old school. If you watch the old series, she's the girl that always says, at my old school. And so she apparently is gone. Another thing that really annoyed me about the kids, well, first of all, Jyoti's trying to fit in and figure out where she fits in this class and her role. They tried to cram too much in the first episode, in my opinion. Excuse me. But another thing that annoys me about the kids is the girl DA. DA is always kind of the smart girl who's like, according to my research, and she always says it that way, research. This new voice actor girl doesn't say that. She says, according to my research. Like, come on. That was one of the catchphrases. According to my research. I realize it's not the right way to say the word, but it was what made her little kitschy thing her thing. And McKinnon, who's playing Frizzle at this point, actually references that. Because early in the episode, DA says, according to my research, and she has her little electronic tablet now, which just goes to show that more time has passed, and yet they're all the same age still. Good golly, we're going on 13 minutes here. I may very well have a half-hour video here today, folks. She says research early in the episode, and then McKinnon's character gets introduced, and she blatantly goes up to DA and says, DA, according to your research, and she like emphasizes the fact that she's saying it the way the old one used to say it, the way the old DA used to say it. Like, she's making it clear that that's what she's doing. And then later on, DA still says it differently. She says research again. Blah! Like, there are certain things that you just shouldn't mess with. When they're on their field trip, well, we can talk about the other kids. Ralphie, to me, still appears the same. He's wearing his ball cap front-facing now instead of backwards, and he's not as fat as he used to be. Tim, who was always my favorite character, because he was just kind of the average dude. He knew what he was talking about, but he didn't make any stupid jokes or get into any weird situations. He was a model student. Then you have Carlos, who makes like super dumb puns, but that's what makes him funny. I think he only had one in this entire episode. Keisha, Keisha and Tim in the original series were very clearly black students. In this series, they've definitely lightened their skin color. I don't know if that's trying to be PC or what, but like, you're going to take your two token black kids and make them not so black anymore. It's very clear with Keisha. Not so much Tim, but Tim's hairdo is like super modern. Looks like some Odell Beckham Jr. type stuff. It is not the neatly manicured combed hair that Tim had in the past. So they're messing with my favorite character there, first of all. Who else am I forgetting? Wanda. Wanda was the Chinese student. She still has a little bit, or the Asian student, I should say. She still has a little bit of that look to her. But for a mid-90s show, Magic School Bus kind of had their diversity all figured out. I'll give them that. And now this 2017 version is like messing with that, which I don't know is going in the right direction as far as our society is concerned. I feel like there's going to be some memes or some tweets or some articles about that eventually. Right now there's a video about it. You're watching it. So that's the kids' standpoint. On the field trip, let's move to the field trip that they were on. Usually when Professor Frizzle would take the kids on a field trip and they would transform into a creature, they would still have like their face. I remember the salmon episode where they were talking about the migration upstream. They were all salmon, but they still had their own faces. Or if she transformed them into something they couldn't have a real face, they still had like their color pattern of their outfit or their hairstyle or something like that. Fiona Frizzle, new Frizzle, transforms just 2 students into a tortoise and a finch. And they look like a tortoise and a finch. If you were muting the show or just walked into it, you would have no idea that those were actually supposed to be students. That's just not right. Make them look like the students who also happen to look like animals. Good grief. Here's the next one. And I didn't pay close enough attention in the early part of the episode, but something caught my eye in this one. There was a scene, well, first of all, the animal sidekick. In the 90s show, it was a lizard named, you guessed it, Liz. And she pretty much carried, like, the episodes for a lot of the time, especially, like, in the end credit scenes when the kids would call the producer of the show and ask questions about the episode. Liz was always in there doing some sort of hijinks. Well, in this episode, Professor Frizzle no longer has Liz. She has a tamarin monkey. Yellow tamarin, orange tamarin, something tamarin. Monkey. I didn't catch the name, but they were trying to make it very clear that Liz was no longer around, or at least that Professor Frizzle no longer had her. But later in the episode, when the kids were on the field trip, they were getting off the bus, and it's like shooting from the outside of the bus into it, and the front windshield is just blue, but you can see the silhouette of Miss Frizzle, and on the dashboard, the silhouette, the outline, the shadow of Liz, the lizard. You can see it from the outside of the bus, but nowhere else in the episode was Liz ever there. Like, I don't understand it. Why are you going to go to the trouble to put her silhouette in the window, like as if she's inside the bus waiting to get off, and then not use her? And it was like later in the episode when this actually happened. So I don't know if it was just supposed to be kind of like an Easter egg kind of deal that you're looking for, or not really supposed to see but think you see. I'll have to go back and look at it again, as much as I don't want to watch it again. So yeah, there was literally no animal sidekick. They mentioned the monkey like one time, and that was it. Whereas in the original, Liz was like always with Frizzle. Always. Doing the adventures, doing the weird things, helping transform the bus. It was a big part of the show. I think that pretty much covers all my frustrations and what makes this show actually terrible. Arnold never once said, I knew I should have stayed home today, which was his catchphrase. Original Frizzle, Professor Frizzle, alluded to it at the end. Whoa, yeah. Sorry. So at the end of the original shows, they would always have some kid from outside. It was never one of the students. It was some outside kid who had, quote, watched the episode and was calling the producer to, like, kind of point out the inaccuracies or the impossibilities of what they had done in the show. They'd always be like, oh, the kids can't shrink down to the size of ants, or it takes thousands of years for coal to turn into a diamond. And so the producer would explain, yeah, we know, but we had to speed it up for the episode, blah, 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 blah. I forget where I was. Oh, they didn't do that at the end of this episode. Instead, Arnold calls original Frizzle while she's skydiving, gets transported to her, and kind of asks those sum-up questions. So there is no producer scene, which I was kind of always a staple of the original too. They'd have all the phones ringing and the kids in different accents saying magic school bus, magic school bus, magic school bus, and ask their questions. They didn't do that in this new one. And again, I've only watched one episode, so maybe some things will change throughout the series, but I really am going to have a hard time bringing myself to watch it. So, what else? I think that's about it. They still have Lily Tomlin playing original Frizzle, which I think is fantastic. Oh, her catchphrase. Last one, and then I'll be done, I promise, because we're past 20 minutes, by far the longest video. But I feel very passionate about it. So, haha. In the theme song and throughout the series, Frizzle's catchphrase is "Wahoo!" Like, she says it over and over and over again. And they had McKinnon, like, try to do it, but you could tell they, like, encouraged her to change it up a little bit. So, like, at the end scene when Frizzle's, like, original Frizzle's leaving the classroom, she goes, "Wahoo!" and does her thing, and only the way Lily Tomlin could do. And then they have McKinnon's character, New Frizzle, like, try to do it, but it's like, wahoo! It's really uncomfortable and weird and just doesn't fit at all. And it was just one of those cringeworthy moments. I'm sure there's more that I'm leaving out, and maybe some of this stuff will be fixed in later episodes. I don't know.